Good afternoon. Let's talk fighting. The most primitive and a basic instinct of all living creatures. We fight for survival. We fight with each other to get the upper hand. Basically, animals are very territorial. We fight to protect our own territory. All creatures fight. Elephants, tigers, bees, birds, everybody fights. And human beings are no exception. We also fight to protect our own respective territories. And this fight goes on in our families, in our societies, and in our workplace. And disaster risk reduction community and climate change adaptation community is no exception. I presume that most of you present here are DRR professionals. But how many of you consider yourself as both DRR and CCA professionals? Okay, so quite a few numbers. So a demonstration, I guess, of the dilemma that some of us are in. Now, if we browse through the internet to find out the history of disaster risk reduction, it actually took me back to Noah's Ark, 4,400 years ago, and it demonstrates the evidence of early warning, preparedness, and prevention. But the modern day disaster management and disaster risk reduction, as we see it or consider it today, I would say evolved over the last 30 years or so. And it got a boost with the International Decade for Natural Disaster Reduction, which of course culminated into UNISDR in 1999. But climate change, on the other hand, sort of got into the limelight with the first IPCC assessment report in 1990, and then subsequent formation of UNFCCC in 1992. But it actually got sort of everybody's attention with the second assessment report of IPCC, which clearly said or gave us a prediction of a dire consequences of the fossil fuel usage that started with the Industrial Revolution some 150 years ago. So we can say that climate change sort of got people's attention since mid-90s, late 90s, especially of the people who holds power and money. But the thing is, climate change community, especially the climate change adaptation community, has sort of been fenced by the environmentalists. And I would say sort of kept, to some extent, off limit to the busy and sort of dirty, quick and dirty doing work, the disaster management professionals. And we, the disaster management professionals, on the other hand, were happy doing our own saving people's lives, assets, work, and largely oblivious of what was going on the other side of the fence, that is on the climate change arena. But with the IPCC fourth assessment report in 2007, things actually changed. That report said, come on, you two communities, you need to work together. Because of the climate change impact, disasters are going to be more frequent and more intense. So the DRR communities have to be brought into the fold. And equally, the DRR communities have to learn or take into cognizance the predictions and the strategies of climate change adaptation community. One of the priorities of HFA, Hyogo Framework of Action, is reducing the underlying risk factors. But unfortunately, the DRR communities haven't been able to achieve much success, or at least visible success in that front, while climate change adaptation is actually trying to address that particular action area. So DRR communities saw a clear sort of benefit of working with the climate change adaptation community. In the last conference of parties in Doha, the subject of the issue of loss and damage got quite a good ground in the climate change arena. And that brought the climate change adaptation community even closer to the DRR community. But the problem, and we can say that, I mean, I would say that, I'm sure most of you also agree that sort of the field is very ready for the two communities to work together. But the million-dollar question remains, how? How to do that? In Bangladesh, we are having sort of, meetings, workshops, seminars every other day on this very issue about how to integrate DRR and CCA. But unfortunately, over the last, this has been going on ever since the fourth assessment report, but, without any, again, visible evidence of success. On the other hand, people who are actually suffering because of disasters, because of the increased disasters caused by climate change impact, they can't care less whether it's a DRR program or a CCA program under which they are getting their embankments done in their village, or the ponds and filter for their drinking water that they're getting. They don't care less. They can't care less. So it's basically the practitioners who needs to, come out of their box and merge, mingle. Knowledge management, bingo. Apparently it looks and it does work as a very effective, sort of non-threatening, way of making these two communities come together, work together. And that's the story I'm going to tell you today. One of the program priorities of UNDP Bangladesh, where I work, is this very issue of integration between DRR and CCA. So in 2011, we decided to do something about it, not just keep on talking. And so we adopted a UN global initiative called a knowledge management initiative, which is called Solution Exchange. It's a thematic network, primarily online network, and primarily talking about solutions of the problems that practitioners face doing their jobs. And I think I missed numbers of, okay, yeah. So, but the twist that we brought into this knowledge management network was merging these two themes together, bringing climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction communities together. This is called Solution Exchange. And the name of our community is Climate and Disaster Risk Reduction Community. And we launched this on 31st May 2011 with some 177 members. And the practitioners from both the communities were sort of intrigued at this merger and sort of joined in to see, just to see what was happening. But today, after 2 years, we have more than 600 members from government, top-level government officials like the Director General of the Department of Disaster Management, top-level NGO leaders, top-notch DRR experts, climate change experts, policymakers like Member of Parliament, and of course, the grassroots practitioners. And we have actually made it a bilingual community, so we operate both in English and Bangla to make sure that the grassroots practitioners can equally contribute as well as learn from it. So just to give you an example, last year government did a review of donor-supported ILA response program. ILA was a Category 1 cyclone that happened in the coastal belt. For that review, the government actually floated a query into CDRR community, and we managed to float that query in a blog from another of our program, UNDP's program, which is Access to Information. And interestingly enough, we got about 60% of the responses to that query from the grassroots people themselves, the ILA affected people themselves. And we also post a lot of for info messages to bring up to date, especially the grassroots practitioners, bring them up to date with the developments in the two sectors and increase their level of understanding about the issues. Now, how does it work? Basically, the community of practice gets discussions going on, members raise questions, and the rest of the members give their own views, especially share experiences, good or bad, and also refer to others' works, studies, research reports, and all that. And to give you another example, and this is, I love this example because this shows how this knowledge management platform has been able to make impact and especially help the practitioners. In last year October, there was a small cyclone which happened, and one of our member NGO got some funding to do some house repairing of 2,500 house repairing. Now, they were facing a dilemma or sort of a conflict between the prescriptions of the donor, which was basically distributing RCC concrete pillars, while the local people, the target people, wanted plinth raising, house raising support instead. So when the query was floated into CDRR community, the members were very highly in favor of house plinth raising, and the NGO got the ground saying that it's the wider community who are in favor of house plinth raising, and they managed to go back to the donor and change the project design and did according to the people's demand. And also, I'll skip some of the, because time is time constraint, I'll skip some of the examples. Just to tell you that over these 2 years, we managed to have 28 queries. The community dealt with 28 queries, out of which 15 were pure DRR issues, while 7 were CCA issues, and 6 were both sort of DRR cum CCA issues. And then participation into the discussions were like both the communities, members from both CCA and DRR communities were participating almost equally. Like the number, if we look at the numbers of the respondents, both the communities were responding very well. And just to conclude that our experience over the last 2 years has really been very rewarding and very encouraging. We have seen how the community of practitioners of both CCA and DRR have put down their guards and have been contributing in the discussion with their own set of knowledge and helping each other to solve common problems. Thank you very much.